Alrighty, well, a very good morning and a happy Tuesday, January the 3rd of 2023. Thank you guys for tuning in to the throw-in. My name is Justin. You guys are listening to us live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We'd like to take this time to give ourselves, I'm going to say about a little pay a visit of silence and thoughts and prayers to go out to the family of Damar Hamlin. So everyone take a moment, if you don't mind, to pay our tribute and respect. I would have liked to come out here on this Tuesday morning when it's kind of raining outside out here where I'm at to talk to you guys about the difficulties of choosing between whether to watch Monday Night Raw or Monday Night Football, because both nights or both events were very impactful, at least so to speak, because that was the hype and the built for these events last night. But we're opening up the show in a more sincere moment. And for people who maybe didn't get a chance to make it and you guys wanted to take this program to discover all your dues, especially going around in the NFL and the Bengals and Bills game last night. Well, we were anticipating a playoff atmosphere game. And for the most part, we were receiving a playoff atmosphere game, 7-3 halfway through the first quarter, when in details from observation, okay, Damar Hamlin ends up tackling T. Higgins in the middle of the field and shortly after goes down. CPR was given to him and he was rushed to the UC in Cincinnati. Under review, for the moment, it was a human-like moment. I was kind of distraught and loss of words, and I was unsure of exactly what's going on. We've heard and we've seen injuries, significant injuries happen on the field. It's part of the game. Happens all the time. I mean, you've looked at Tua's, throughout this season alone, having to deal with his concussions. Excuse me. And you have broken bones. You have people who the injuries are real, right? Moments on the field are real. And then, but when someone collapses on the field, and it requires medical staff and professionals to come onto the field to deliver immediate CPR, rushing him to the hospital, waking up at 4:30 in the morning to discover that he's still in such critical condition. Now, listen, I don't know. I'm not no medical staff. I'm sure that he's in the best of care, and I'm not going to go speculate anything further than what social media is giving us. But it really puts the perspective of that last night, the magnitude of the game, the playoff atmosphere of the Bills and the Bengals last night that was supposed to go down, that started to go down, comes to a halt. Well, well, um, deserved. And we're sitting here this morning, Tuesday morning, January 3rd, 2023, taking it slow, trying to probably best describe and have a conversation with you guys about what happened last night. So prayers, thoughts go out to Damar Hamlin, not just to Damar Hamlin, to his family. I know, according to reporters, his family, his mother was there in the crowd. She was taken away to go with him. Um, you know, we, the prayers go out to the Bills game, and it's because throughout the game, in the moment, first of all, the Bills and the Bengals game was postponed or delayed because of the Rose Bowl, and they didn't want to conflict with television scheduling, and they didn't want to conflict with viewership. They wanted to give it audience the chance to finish watching the Rose Bowl, and then to come over to watch Monday Night Football and see best of both worlds. So the game initially already started behind. Bengals run down the board, run down the field, scoring 7 points in the first possession. Bills return the favor, scoring 3, 7-3, with just a little over 5 minutes left to go in the first quarter. And then then this incident happens, and like I said, I'm, on the on the remote, tuning back and forth between the Bills and the Bengals when this incident is happening. Immediately, Bills players surround the ambulance, surround Damar Hamlin, and when you get that, you just know it's not good. You got players, the emotional state of each and every player on that field. And I'll give more respect to the individual coaches, because you could sense, that right after, when the coaches got together, the determination that this game was not going to be played yesterday. And so, we're expecting us to sit here today, hopefully, to talk about the Bills and the Bengals recap. It's going to have to wait. Postponed to the Bills and the Bengals until further notice. They haven't decided. I know, listen, there's going to probably be some sort of controversy over the next few hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, of maybe how the NFL handled things. It's always going to be someone that's going to criticize. But As of right now, obviously the Bills and the Bengals did not complete their game. It is suspended. The game is, we do not know when the game is going to be held, if the game is going to be held. We don't know any status, and we probably won't know any status till later on today. And the number one focus point is, and that's fine by me. All right, I don't care for the Bills and the Bengals. I don't care for, you know, any other sports. It's kind of hard to express and to have a conversation about any other sports. And we're going to be on for another hour and 50 minutes here, and we're going to have to find a way to progress and to move on. But it's a little difficult this morning waking up and saying, how do you go put on a program? Nonetheless, how does the NFL broadcasters last night continue doing their jobs? How do Sports Center on ESPN continue doing their jobs, having to unveil and to talk and discuss the only news that's right now most important, that's is about this critical condition that Damar Hamlin's in. So, yeah, it's going to be a slow morning. I will rest assured that. So I apologize for anyone who was looking to really get it into deep today, and I was hoping to get into deep today, but we're actually, listen, I have my list here, my game plan. Matter of fact, it was interesting because, turning on to the game last night, I was, going back and forth trying to put together today's program. I was like, all right, how am I going to do all this? Getting all the bowl stuff done, talking some sports, talking some wrestling. And rest assured, we'll talk about some sports today. We'll talk some wrestling, but you know this precedes all of it. This is a reality check for a lot of people. This is a reality check for me. It's you take don't take it for granted. Don't Football is just a game. I was tuning back and forth trying to listen into the coverage and see if there was an update being provided, and I was going back and forth, and I was tuning into wrestling, and I was just like, how can you watch WWE, or how can you watch any other sport when that's on the other channel this is going on? And when you start talking life or death in a sports game. We all go. I played football. I've wrestled. I played football. I played baseball. I've had my fair share of sports growing up, and there's at no point, like you said, injuries is a part of nature. It happens to the in the game all the time. But to have this type of injury it's you don't even want to consider. It's not anywhere along the category of a sprained ankle, broken bone, concussion. I mean, this is that next level that really no one ever expects to see, especially on a live coverage, or really is or wants to see. And it's not just not just as intense and not just as emotional to the players and the families, but you're feeling it around the world today. There's news coverage almost every sports channel. There's tweets coming out from every football team in the NFL and more, when it comes down to covering everything that is revealing last night. So we will see how we progress this morning, and exactly what we get through talking about on day 2 of this. Well, it's supposed to be a TNC Sports Talk relaunch, because I think this is a little bit more important to cover through everyone. All right. We're going to take our first time out today. If you guys have any ideas, any thoughts you guys want to cover, I mean, we will get into sports. We will try to find ourselves together, pull ourselves back in, and have you guys a sports coverage because Monday Night Raw still went on last night. And NFL news heading into Week 18. I don't know how much we'll talk about the NFL. Maybe try to steer away a little bit from that. Um, I want to start presenting to you because we got our top 100s from 2022, and I was going to share at least from 76 to 100 and take every day to go down until Friday we hit the top one of 2022. So I would like to do that. We'll just see where today takes us and all around the sports world. If you guys have comments, you guys want to weigh in, please feel free to do so. Like I said, thank you guys for tuning in on a Tuesday morning right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And let's make the most of this morning as we wake up and we check on the condition of Damar Hamlin. So let's take a break. Let's come on back. Let's try to regroup and refocus. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You guys are listening to the Throw In with Justin right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, 6:20 here on the throw-in. Thank you. Good morning to you guys. Hopefully you guys are having yourselves a better morning. We are trying here to have ourselves a better morning as we try to come to you, talk to you guys, mourn with you guys over the condition status of Buffalo Bills defensive player Damar Hamlin. Covering throughout the news and just this morning, everything that, headlines in the sports world, it's all about Damar Hamlin, respectfully doing so. This is headlines coming out of CBS this morning. Bills Damar Hamlin suffers cardiac arrest on field versus Bengals. Buffalo safety in critical condition. And, I've been out here for a couple years now, moving out here in 2020. I know that, the NFL has done, the Cincinnati, takes care of every player of every sports team that comes into this town. So I know that, he's receiving the utmost care from the medical staff. It was immediate attention from when he did, the incident did occur, and you just, it's an unsurreal moment, whether you're a player, whether you're a staff member, whether you're a fan, just to be honest. So I think, today it's, if people feel a little bit off, especially, and that's the other thing, it's not just the Bills, I'm confident that there's other franchises, including the Bengals, who were their opponent. They witnessed this on the field. Some players were watching. Some players had to turn away. You saw several players on both sides of the ball just teared up, had to leave. I can't, give the, enough credit to both coaches saying, hey, listen, because they did try to actually get the game going. They gave the officials gave the 5-minute warning. Hey, everyone get ready. We're going to start this game back up. But no one could have started the game back up, not knowing conditions and understanding, and now actually understanding and, some sort of update that was provided for him It was, how could you even play a football game? And we don't know if this game or when this game will get played. With the, even though there was some sort of magnitude that was tied along to this last night's event. Um, so and then that's fine. This is beyond an NFL game. I know, I'm already relating it back to sports, and there's a lot of people that are just, hey, let's focus in on the health and condition. Well, like I said, I'm not no doctor. I'm not no medical staff. I don't want to speculate more than what I've already seen or what I've been told by sources. So like I said, from what I've observed, it was an unsurreal moment. It took me several hours to even comprehend what was going on. And on top of that, it really, I really didn't. As soon as that happened, my eyes was glued. I was trying to distract myself by tuning on something else. Turning on a Monday Night Raw, or looking at some sports, trying to get this program together. Well, you know what? I was like, I I'm going to be covering this majority of this morning, so there's not much that I'm going to really have to do. So, my work is probably right now this morning scattered across my entire table. I was going to put up some more decorations last night, or not decorations, but some more of the, stuff behind last night, and it didn't happen, because of, the complex of this. I was kind of confused. I was kind of lost for a long period of time. I think I'm still so unsurreal this morning when I woke up, that still reread the news and so you see the articles. And the other thing is too is that this is something that's happened in Cincinnati at Paycor Stadium. It was just a couple months ago, where earlier on a Monday Night Football game, where Tua Tagovailoa was injured with another concussion. Now, we can go on and say that, yeah, that happened, because of protocols not being taken into place. But every time someone especially gets injured, doesn't matter who, what side of the ball they're on, every time something that happens like that on your turf, in your home field, it hurts 10 times worse. And I'm not saying that Paycor Stadium is not an unsafe environment for players. That's not the case. Or, that the Bengals are unsafe. Because like this incident was a simple Damar Hamlin tackling T. Higgins, head, body to body. I didn't, people are going to go dive deep into that. No, it was just a tackle, and it happens. And it's just, I think the other thing that I really gravitate, that I really find concerning, and I think for not only, this situation last night, but it's moving forward, because both teams are now dealing with this. It's not just the Bills, and I know the Bills are going to probably suffer the worst out of this, but it's both teams that have to deal with this. And it has the it's not something that happened during practice, not something that happened while someone was off on their own. This happened during a real live game situation. So the next time both teams, especially the Bills, come out to the field and they take the next snap, it's going to be just that much more emotional. And people are going to be that much more observant, over, to see the careness, for each individual, and moving forward, it's not like their season ends next week for both teams. It's not like, hey, you could throw your hands up and say, all right, I'm gonna, we're just gonna go ahead and get through the week, and or we're gonna forfeit the week, or whatever the case may be, because of this situation, and just everyone go home and be healthy. you know these two teams have to go out, and still somehow find a way to compete next week. And you know that you hear it all the time when something like this happens. All right, this game goes out, the playoff run gets dedicated to somebody, and I'm sure that you know Damar Hamlin will be dedicated, not only in Buffalo but across the NFL over the next few weeks and throughout the remainder of the NFL season slash postseason. But I mean, the mentality, the mental, the emotional state that the next time Stephon Diggs hits that field or Josh Allen goes on that field, or even Joe Burrow after witnessing what they just witnessed, um, it's going to really take an effect and may very well, and I'm just wondering how much of it will affect their, postseason run, nonetheless any other team. Um, my other concern is, so we got to head to a break here, but my other concern is, because we'll try to move on topic after we come back, but you know, the NFL, it's not like we haven't seen ambulances, injuries before or scenarios like this before. It's a rare occasion, but it's not like we haven't seen it. We've seen it before. But the problem that we run into is now, as an NFL, as Roger Goodell is approaching this and having to really handle this um, situation, and it's a nature situation. It's not something that was all right. You could slap a fine on. It's not like someone's being punished. No, it's no one's at fault. This is just something that happened, in the spur of the moment for Damar Hamlin. And it's like, okay, so how does the NFL handle this? And that the NFL, before they say anything, they really want to make sure that they cross their T's and they dot their I's when it comes down to handling the situation. That is one of the reasons why it took a little longer than normal to officially suspend the game last night. I think it was well over about an hour and a half before even the stadium was given that clearance that, hey, this game is just not going to happen. We knew. I mean, I think even Buffalo Bills and Bengals, knew as soon as that, as soon as they let the field that this was not going to take place. And you got that unclarified hint early on when they started removing stuff from the field. But it's one of those things that, all right, well, NFL does is it's a business, right? So even though they are, concerned and want the health and safety for all their players and staff members, they're like, all right, well, when, all right, we will cancel this game for now. Will it be made up? Does it have to be made up? How important is it for it to be made up? And those are answers that I think going into this morning, if you guys, when you guys start turning back into sports, the sports side of things, how do you approach that? How do you, handle that? So that's, I don't get paid those big bucks from the NFL to figure all that stuff out. So, we don't know if the game is going to be played, and if so, when the game is going to be played. And we don't even know the status of Week 18. Nonetheless, moving forward and getting ready into the playoffs, because there's, now, over the next few days, yeah, you have the next 4 days, but football is scheduled to return back on Saturday. So a lot of that taking into effect. All right, so we're gonna take a time out. Want to step away and kind of shift directions. We will continue paying tribute, sending our prayers out to Damar Hamlin throughout the program. If you guys are missing any coverage, I'm going to recommend, don't come to me asking questions. Tune in on to ESPN, some of these news that probably have a little bit better detail, because everything that I'm giving you and it's just, it's as a fan based thought, perspective. And it's basically whatever I could read on sports news like CBS Sports and whatnot. So, when we do want to come back, I want to talk a little bit about the bowl games, because bowl games continued yesterday. Rose Bowl delayed the Bengals and Bills game yesterday, and a couple of things are happening, getting the ready and set into the 2023 NFL draft. So we'll cover all that. Don't hit that. Don't go nowhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back here on the throw-in. I want to apologize if the streaming service is a little down or lags at all. It's currently raining outside my location, and just based off of where I'm at, I know that there has been ups and down problems with connection. So if you guys are on any end, feel free. Please pardon the take of any lagging or cut service. But welcome back to the throw-in. My name is Justin. You guys are listening to us on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I'll give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can create your podcast, host virtual business meetings, conduct interviews, and much more. You guys can check out the free version today at StreamYard.com. The entire city of Cincinnati is in blue in honor of Damar Hamlin, as that is the big sports coverage around the world today. Like I said, you could talk about basketball. There's no basketball. There's no football and baseball, hockey, even wrestling story that is bigger today than Damar Hamlin and what happened last night in the Bengals game that caused him collapsing, being rushed to the emergency room at UC and UC, and it's kind of just one of those mornings, especially being in the probably within that 50-mile radius of everything taking place, that you just need to. It's kind of a tough pill to, not a tough pill to swallow, but it's kind of difficult to kind of wrap your head around. So we try to advance ourselves and continue talking about the world of sports, at least over the next day. And if there's any information that we come across with during our time, then we will be more than adequate to share with you. And like I said, we're not doctors, we're not professional staff, we're just I'm just one person right here sharing his thoughts and his opinions about what he saw and what he's reading. So hey, as much I would like to try to move on, and try to move on with some more bowl games that continued yesterday. Hey, it's the New Year's. Normally you see the Rose Bowl happen on January 1st, but because of the NFL, they postponed everything up to January 2nd, which was a Monday. A little new to me, to be honest, to really, figure out, okay, what was the game plan? I guess, I'm not aware of this. I mentioned this yesterday. I'm like, I hate these holidays, to be honest. As much as I love the holidays because it's time for family to come around, I really hate the holidays because, it's, for me, it's business as usual, and a lot of places are closed. A lot of things are not taking place. But yesterday was a continuance of this whole New Year's weekend in the sports extravaganza. We had the Relia Quest Bowl in Tampa, Florida, taking place yesterday. Number 22 Mississippi State defeats Illinois 17-10. The Citrus Bowl was in Orlando yesterday. That was played earlier. LSU defeated Purdue, dominated, outscored 63-7. The Cotton Bowl in Arlington, Texas. Number 10 USC takes on number 16 Tulane. And it was more of a close game, more of a closer game. But Tulane held on 46-45. And then last night, that pushed back the Bengals and the Reds, and not the Reds. Press the wrong button. I gotta laugh at myself sometimes. But the Rose Bowl, Pasadena, California, yesterday. Number 8 Utah taking on number 11 Penn State, 21-35 final score. That is your bowl games as of yesterday. And then you get into some sports today coming up with local wise. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if these games are still validated today. I don't know with everything that's happened in Cincinnati over the last 12 hours. Okay, with Damar Hamlin, I really don't know exactly what kind of sports are being played, especially around here or within the radius here and in Buffalo. So this is what is scheduled for tonight. We have Syracuse over in Louisville. Louisville comes in 2-12 overall, 0-3 in the ACC, and they're ranked place number 13. They'll be playing Syracuse tonight at 7 p.m. Tickets are currently available at $15 a piece. And then we also have Kentucky, who is 9-4 overall, 0-1 in the SEC, sixth place coming out. They're taking on LSU tonight at 8 p.m. Tickets start at $30. So, like I mentioned, I know sports are still scheduled to happen. I don't know exactly to what extent. In some places, if they are going to happen, sometimes, a lot of times, depending on the situation, they will take time away, take time off to gravitate and kind of recoup out of respect, out of tribute. So we don't quite know just yet where that is all headed to. But while we're talking about some of the some more college football in this quite small segment, you know there's been we're already starting to get ourselves ready for the 2023 NFL draft, which means you got players trying to make their case. You got seniors are determining if they're going to head into this draft, if they what they want to do with the rest of their lives. And you also got yourself players that are younger, juniors, sophomores, that maybe think they're ready and they're declaring themselves for the draft already. You know, over the last week, 2 weeks, you see things out there on the news starting, teams starting to get themselves prepared. The teams that are not heading into the postseason, they're starting to look at themselves as if, okay, we need to kind of let's regroup, let's figure ourselves out. What do we need for 2023 in that season? Nathaniel Hackett was cut. Now they're looking for a head coach. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But, one of the big stories coming out of the NFL was kind of how the Las Vegas Raiders shut themselves out last week. They had a slim opportunity at a postseason run, but they shut themselves out. They decided to rest Derek Carr. The whole controversy with Derek, and it's not even a controversy. It's the whole understanding of, hey, the Raiders are in a position where if Derek Carr is available to be traded, he needs to be healthy. He needs the last 2 weeks to be off so that he could be at the best state of his ability, so he could get the most value in the trade block. Well, if the Raiders are thinking about getting rid of Derek Carr, well, who are you going to replace? There's rumor that you go out there with Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. I throw in Jared Goff, even Baker Mayfield. For me, those are my top 4 candidates. If you don't keep and I would always say, hey, keep Derek Carr in the back of your pocket on good terms. You don't want a Baker Mayfield and a Cleveland Browns situation. Keep Baker Mayfield in the back of your pocket, good terms, just in case. Because now, there's a possibility that if you don't get Tom Brady, if you don't get Aaron Rodgers, you don't get Baker Mayfield, you don't get Jared Goff, I wouldn't quite go with Jimmy Garoppolo. But those are my top 4. And if you don't settle, because for me, those 4 guys are better than Derek Carr. that could be available. So those guys are better than Derek Carr. So if you don't want to settle for any guys who are equal, if not less, to Derek Carr. All right, and if you're going to do that, Geno Smith, for example, you might as well just go ahead and re-sign Derek Carr. Well, the fifth option is, hey, let's sign a draft pick. Well, up until yesterday, I would have laughed at you and said, hey, listen, I got to say that there's no good quarterbacks, at least good franchise quarterbacks, for a potential draft pick. So all you're doing is, if you're deciding that you're wanting to get rid of Derek Carr, maybe build, is that, and you're going to go with the draft pick side, I would just disagree and say that you're just downgrading yourselves up until yesterday, because it was announced that Bryce Young has decided, along with Will Anderson Jr., has declared themselves for the 2023 draft. Bryce Young in 3 seasons with Alabama. Okay. Total of 8,356 yards and 80 touchdowns. Went into the Sugar Bowl and won 45-20 with throwing 321 yards and 5 touchdowns. Now, this changes the playing field. I don't know who's out there and who needs a quarterback. I don't necessarily think that Las Vegas needs a. Derek Carr is still a good quarterback. I'd pick Derek Carr over Russell Wilson today. You understand just how much Derek Carr has been through over the last few seasons, having to move from Oakland to Las Vegas at the beginning of his contract signing, having to move from having to deal with the personnel complications over the last few years with head coaches, finally getting settled into this head coach, taking the team to the playoffs last season, never really shows any signs of being injured or hurt. I mean, he's a good quarterback. I wouldn't say he's Patrick Mahomes level, but I'm gonna throw him more in the line of Justin Herbert. Okay, I know Justin Herbert right now is being seen in the category and in the conversations with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. For me, those 3 guys are still staying. You got your veterans in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, and then you get those elite 3. Justin Herbert is kind of right there in the midst of it. Derek Carr still in that conversation as well. So Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I don't know why Las Vegas wants to trade or get rid of, other than maybe I think of salary cap. Now, I admit that the Raiders have issues with their defense. They're probably one of the worst defenses of all times. And how can you be a quarterback playing for a defense like Las Vegas? So it throws to that notion that, hey, if you're the Raiders and you're looking for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you're looking for a guy like Tom Brady, your chances are very slim. You know why? It's because Tom Brady is coming out of Tampa Bay. All right. If he decides to pick the Raiders, he's coming out of Tampa Bay with defense has been great, been up and down. Hasn't been the greatest as of late. Let's admit to that. Okay, he's been relying a lot more on himself than he should have. And you get 2 of these veterans in Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers going to any team next year, it's going to be a team that has 3 things, or at least 2 things. Let me just start notioning them off one by one. They got to have an offensive line. An offensive line that is going to protect them in the pocket every time, all the time, 18 weeks of the year, 20 weeks of the year, throughout the playoffs. All right, it can't be a Bengals, because Tom Brady can't afford to get sacked 10 times in a game. Just it's not realistic that the way it's not worth his investment. It's not worth his time. They need to have receivers. What is Tom Brady's one problem? Not enough receivers. You got Mike Evans, but you only got one guy. And the same thing going with Aaron Rodgers. He got a whole bunch of younger guys to pass to, but they're not developed. They're not no Devontae Adams. So if you're going to go to a new team, you're going to make sure that they have not only an offensive line, but receivers. And then defense. You got to have a defense. All the points and everything that you're going to put up, if you're expecting Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady to go put up 20, 30 points a game, you got to have a defense to stop your opponents 20, 30 points a game. Right? Key elements of winning, having a good football team. Good offensive line, receivers, and even defense. And I even cut it down to 2. If you have a good offensive line and you have at least grade B level, A- level defense, then look at what Aaron Rodgers has been able to do with these young, talented rookies coming out of college. He's been able to shape them up. But see, Derek Carr is still a good quarterback. I just don't know why they are thinking about trading. I just can't wrap my head around that. Maybe that's something that can be discussed at a later date. But Bryce Young electing himself for this draft, for me, I think that's a bold statement. Is he ready? Sure. I think he is. I just don't know what team is going to want him. And I guess one thing that I'm afraid of watching and happening, okay, you got Justin. Okay, the last draft that I remember with quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, he's in the hints after 2 years, making it to the postseason. Okay, Justin Fields, I think he's a decent quarterback. I think a lot gets put on him, and he has to carry himself. And I don't think that the Bears have enough to support Justin Fields. I think he's a decent quarterback. Now, I've always been a bigger fan of Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence. I've said this numerous of times. But when you are a quarterback, my biggest fear is a quarterback and their talent potential being wasted because they go to a team that is just not going to perform. I mean, Jacksonville Jaguars, I just didn't see them go nowhere. So when you look at the bottom of that draft and you look at the bottom where, these teams are now picking and who needs a quarterback, Houston needs the quarterback. Does the Texans pick up Bryce Young now? And I mentioned this earlier, right? This is now a design where there is no quarterback, I don't think, in my opinion, and we'll dive into this more heading into the draft. But in my opinion, there was no quarterback. It wasn't a good quarterback class. Bryce Young changes that. But that's only one. It's going to be who's that first person and are you willing to give up to get Bryce Young? Does the Colts need the Bryce Young? I'm thinking who needs Bryce Young the most? Houston trying to maybe pick him up. I'm afraid of, and I think what ends up happening is I get afraid. He's a good quarterback. He has great potential. One of these teams that are not ready or doesn't have the equipment to make a push to the postseason, or struggling in a division that is just way better than them, you find themselves picking up Bryce Young, and there you go. His career has kind of been lost. You get lost in the shuffle. You kind of have to be at the right place at the right time. And if Bryce Young is the only quarterback out here, and I could probably rattle off 5 or 6 teams that do need a quarterback, to the Raiders. I would even throw in a possibility if the Broncos could get a hold of them. Seattle is another team that could use a quarterback, like a long-term quarterback. The Saints could use a quarterback. The Colts could use a quarterback. The Texans could use a quarterback. Enough said. But it does change the complexion on how this draft is going to be presented. I'm not too much of a draft person. I don't get into the too much of an analytics with the college players just because I'm not familiarized with who's out there on the market. But all I know is that Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. coming out of Alabama being declaring themselves for the 2023 NFL draft. All right, we have reached the end of our number one of our program. Like I said, the focus point this morning is going to be primarily around Damar Hamlin, who received I guess, cardiac arrest during the Bengals and Bills game earlier last night. He was rushed to the UC where he's being treated. He's in critical condition, and the sports world right now just sends thoughts and prayers out to him, his family, teammates, um, and anyone else. As a fan, as a not player of, as a former player of the sport, in any sport world mourns over what is happening right now in Cincinnati. So we will take a break. We will continue moving on, talk a little bit more about what is going on, and giving you any other updates. And we're making it through on a Tuesday. So take a break. Be right back. You guys are listening to the Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Hour number 2 here of the Throw-In. I want to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media account the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. Our intro music coming back from break. Back in Barcelona by Arvio. So thank you guys. Encourage you guys to go check them out. If you guys are looking for any type of music here as well, want to give a big shout out to Canva, makes our commercial breaks. Also, again, want to give out a special shout out also to Spreaker, who provides us our audio platforms. You guys can now download and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and much more. If you guys are creating podcasts and want to make an income based off of the amount of people who are listening to your podcast, be able to head on over to Spreaker.com, be able to monetize your work, add in ads and whatnot. Check out Spreaker.com for more information. Now, I use Spreaker. Now, I think I have yesterday's episode up. The problem I had with yesterday's episode was that when I went to my video pad, because it's been so long since I've been, since I've had to edit an audio. Video pad just didn't want to work. It let me edit it. It just wouldn't let me download it. So I had to download another source, which I'm getting familiarized with. And it's a little just different. So I will, I'm working on that. I think I'm going to re-edit. So yesterday's episode I uploaded, I had to upload it with the ads and then the commercial breaks. So I'm hoping that moving forward, I could be able to cut them out. And then, I usually what I normally do is I would download the audio platform after the program, cut out the musical breaks that we have, re-download it, or re-export it, and then upload it to Spreaker, where I would normally have my breaks at, I'd put in those little ads that Spreaker provides. So when you listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and we get to that break, usually about a commercial or two ad will appear. So we tried to do that. So go ahead and check them out on Spreaker, Epidemic Sound, and Canva. Thank you guys for providing the tools we need to run this program. It is a Tuesday, January 3rd. 2023. It's kind of raining outside. I enjoy the rain, but I think today's rain kind of feels glimpsy in the attitude for what everything that has transpired over the last 12 hours. And I know we talked heavily back in hour number one about this, but we are currently talking about and covering the condition and state from the Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who collapsed yesterday on during Monday Night Football after he tackled T. Higgins in the first quarter. Bengals were up 7-3. He tackled T. Higgins, and he gets up. He collapsed back down on the field. Personnel, medical staff rushes over and starts applying CPR to him immediately. Gets transferred to the UC Medical Clinic in Cincinnati. And currently, as we've been disclaimed this morning, he is currently in critical condition after suffering a cardiac arrest during last night's game. So as we say this, Bengals and Bills game was suspended. No further update of when the game will be announced or played. Hopefully, we will let you guys know when that comes in. And our prayers and our thoughts go out to Damar Hamlin. And that should be the only priority that is set for today and over the next few days. Listen, as much as how big Monday Night Football was and the stakes that were in place, nothing is much greater, much bigger than a life. I'm sure that you guys wouldn't want me to come on here and do this program if I was at a critical health point where I was unable to do this. I know life does move on. It's the unfortunate truth, but this is just a game. All right. Football, baseball, basketball, WWE, it's just a game. Okay. And nothing is more important. No championship, no win. Nothing is more important than someone's health at the end of the day. So we sit and mourn to Damar. We pray and we wish the best for Damar, his family. His mother was in the crowd last night, was taken down to head over to the hospital for him. He's only 24 years old, drafted out of in 2021 from Pittsburgh. I mean, this is only a kid. I'm 27. I say that because I remember being young and saying, "Hey, these are kids and they're my age." No, this is a young person who just got out of college and just started his career in the NFL earlier this year. He stepped in, and he really made his mark, and that's why he was in last night's game. It's an accident. It's not something that can be corrected. It's not something that we don't know the details on his health prior. I don't know any of that. So I mean, there's no pointing fingers, not to anyone, not even to the NFL, not to Roger Goodell. And I'm thankful that right now I'm listening, I'm looking, at the sport. I'm looking at the Sports Center, I'm looking at the NFL Network, and yeah, this is going to be the talk of the day, at least probably the next couple of days. But no one's pointing fingers, and that's I think what you got to take away is that you got to come together at the end of the day. It's just like if you're a Bengals fan, you just can't you can't hold anything. It's a game. It's a sports. Everyone comes together for the fun of it, and they made the correct decision last night, suspending the game, and when we get back to playing football, I don't know. We'll talk about it then. With that being said, I mean, I'm just one thing I'm going to reiterate. I'm worried for the players. I'm worried for the franchises, especially for the Bills and for the Bengals, the two teams that actually had to endure and witness this happen during their game. And one thing that I guess I get worried about the most is how, because eventually the season will continue. Like eventually the postseason will take place. And eventually a Super Bowl will happen this year. I don't personally believe, and I'll be utterly shocked to see anything, the remainder of the season gets postponed because of this. But, I do believe that this continues. Both teams are at a postseason mark this year. And so I guess my next concern is making sure that these players and these coaches are receiving also the proper care, whether it is some sort of therapy or conversations, that these players could be in a mental and emotional state of mind at the end of when this is all said and done. That's my focus moving forward. We're going to let the medical staff deal with Damar Hamlin. We're going to let his family observe and report back to us, and moving forward. But now my concern is directed also towards the players of the Bills, the Bengals, and you know what, the entire sports world, especially anyone close. I know the other NFL teams. It's now important that these men are getting the proper treatment in to become to have the right state of mind mentally and emotionally to move forward, because yeah, it's one thing when you have this type of accident during practice or incident during practice. It's one thing to have this incident at home throughout the week. It's a whole nother level to watch this incident unfold during especially an intense game like last night was built up to be. It's yeah. I'm sure that the Bills and the Bengals and players are going to dedicate games and the rest of the season and the postseason and even the Super Bowl to Damar Hamlin, and rightfully so. But it is crucial that people take a step back and they also check on these players, because they're the ones who had to endure this. They're the ones who actually had to see this on the field. And I mean, even T. Higgins got up, tossed the ball to the referee, didn't know. I mean, he saw Hamlin go down, but he didn't know what was going on. No one knew what's going on at the time. All unfolding in matter of seconds can really take apart somebody or even a team, and it can affect the way that they play and the way that they carry themselves. The last thing I want to do is, you know, I want everyone at the top of their game when they play football coming up next. And it could also cause more injuries, because if you're not in the right mental state of mind because of it, or especially when you hit the field again, if you're not emotionally there, then you're asking yourself to get hurt, and that's what we're trying to avoid here moving forward. So, you know, as you said, thoughts and prayers go out, and the sports world continues. So, as we talk about the sports world, last night, Monday Night Football wasn't the only thing on the agenda. Um, you know, I found out this morning, flipping through the news, that Rutgers beat number one Purdue 65-64 in NCAA basketball last night. I thought that was pretty intense. But no, um, Monday Night Raw did take place last night. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like I said, my mindset was not quite all the way there when it came down to, okay, let's talk about, watching Monday Night Raw. I was, before I was excited because I was like, man, something's going to happen. WWE ended off 2022 on a big note. Like John Cena having his match with Roman Reigns. Not only that, let's take the fact of this. John Cena and Kevin Owens beats the Bloodline last night back on SmackDown. Charlotte Flair returns to beat Ronda Rousey and become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. And then you have Uncle Howdy interferes and continues to pick on Bray Wyatt. So, I mean, a lot of things were conspiring and unfolding on SmackDown, which led to a great ending of the year. And you anticipated that to hopefully roll over into Monday Night Raw. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I was not necessarily all that thrilled in everything that happened. The Bloodline tried to take over, and Adam Pearce decides, hey, listen, that's not going to happen. I want to put everyone in a match. Solo Sikoa faces Elias in like a musical street fight, I guess, because they're in Nashville, Tennessee. I mean, okay, people getting thrown around to musical instruments. I get that. And Solo Sikoa dominates. He sets things off. And then the Usos and Sami Zayn defeats the Street Profits and Kevin Owens, but not without having, Drew McIntyre and Sheamus come out and save the Street Profits and especially Kevin Owens. And obviously that's going to carry over until Friday. They may have another 6-man tag. There just wasn't a lot excitement going into it, other than a couple of title matches we'll talk here when we come back from break. But then also the conception of, hey, I just don't quite. The Bloodline, there's more to the story that needs to be answered. Solo Sikoa is supposed to be the mediator that keeps everyone in line, everyone in check. He set the standard last night by being the first Bloodline member to have a match in 2023 and beating Elias. And now then he had to come back out and get involved with Sami Zayn and the Usos. And so now we wait to hear from Friday, because the tribal chief is supposed to make some sort of announcement, have some sort of conversation. We still are kind of in the mix of, okay, what's going to happen. Is there going to be any consequences to Sami Zayn after Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn lost bet last week on SmackDown? So we'll talk a little bit when we come back from break. We'll talk a little bit about the title matches. I want to give you guys my top PW Insider has the top 100 athletes. Actually, they had the top 500. And you guys could go through all 500. I'm going to go through the top 100 over the next 4 days. So coming up here also later on in our program, we're going to have the 76 to ranked 76 to 100, okay, of wrestlers. And I'm going to, read them through and share you my thoughts. So the throwing continues here, taking you guys up until 8 a.m. on this Tuesday morning. Thank you guys for tuning in to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. We'll be right back. For everything wrestling podcast, check out Armchair Booking Podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I believe all social medias. You guys can also download their podcast and don't miss any episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, much more. We got Steve Barber, Dylan Davis as a preview talking about WWE, everything wrestling. Latest episode was the end of 2022, the 2022 year in review. Can't wait until they come up with a new one. They got a bunch more to talk about. Can't wait. Listen, great guys. Dylan Davis, Steve Barber. Check out Armchair Booking Podcast right now. Available on YouTube. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. If not, download them on your audio streaming platform. They're the ones who got me on this Breaker. So every platform that I'm on, they're on too. I know that as well. All right, it is a Tuesday, 7:22, taking you guys up until 8 o'clock on this in the sports world here, kicking off the morning. I just saw this here. It was posted about 8 hours ago. But on from Fox 19 out here locally, fans at UC Medical Center showing support for Damar Hamlin, and I quote, "Just because we're Bengals fans doesn't mean we aren't fans of him. Nobody wants to experience something like this. That was horrific. We support the Bills. Cincinnati supports you." End quote. So, like I said, today's focus is the well-being of Damar Hamlin, um, Buffalo Bills safety, who uh, suffered a cardiac arrest yesterday during the game. Now is at the UC Medical Center in Cincinnati under critical condition. All right, trying to move things on and move things aboard. Monday Night Raw continued last night. Expected a kind of a bigger show. Probably try to maybe expected some big return. Didn't quite see all of that. Um, you know, there obviously is more to this Bray Wyatt story. And what I love so much about this, I was explaining this yesterday a little bit. I'll bring this back up, is that Bray Wyatt, had a great thing going with him when it came down to telling the story about the Fiend. I think that's most important. And when that stepped away, I think a lot of people were maybe upset about it because he had something going. The last thing that we saw before he left, or the last time that we saw him before he came back earlier, last year, was the WrestleMania match, where then Alexa Bliss comes out of that Jack in the Box state and cost him the match. And we were given an untold story, and I'm hoping at some point down the road, Bray Wyatt is very creative. And I hope at some point down the road we can continue seeing that. And maybe that's the direction that we're seeing in with how Alexa Bliss continues to exfoliate herself back to Bray Wyatt and the mind games. You had stuff on the Titantron, but I think that was just a reinsurance, because I don't think everyone saw, and I know I didn't see during the match last night, where Alexa noticed fans in the crowd wearing Uncle Howdy's mask. And obviously, this puts her in a mindset, in a different, composed mindset here. That, with the Titantron, glitching out and kind of getting to Alexa Bliss, I think for the rest of the fans and the rest of the crowd attendance and the people at home, that really solidified, hey, all right, something else is going on with Alexa. And she ended up outbursting herself on the referee, Bianca Belair, getting herself disqualified, costing her the Raw Women's Championship. Now, all she had to say to Byron Saxton last night was that, hey, I'm in control. Now Bianca's in my mind. And I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, so if this has to do with Bray Wyatt, if this has to do with his gimmick and what he's doing and his storytelling, cool beans. I think the only thing that this is where, as a WWE fan, or as a wrestling fan in general, you have to remain patient when it comes down to this, because it's a long story. Bray Wyatt returned back in September. It's been September, October, November, December, and now January. And the first time we're going to see Bray Wyatt actually in a ring, besides the live shows, right? An actual match will be at the Royal Rumble, January 28th against LA Knight. And you don't know what's going to happen. Uncle Howdy's been getting involved, that we showed last week. And that can only, grow even bigger. Now, I love this story. All right. I haven't loved such a mysterious story since The Undertaker was in full time in the WWE. I think, and for me, the mind games, the mentality, and the way Bray Wyatt is trying to create his own mind games and trying to put a name on his stamp a name on his mark. Trying to separate what has been done before, and he's doing an excellent job doing it. I just think a lot of people have to stay patient. I think that's the problem, is people staying patient. Bianca Belair, hopefully any injuries happen to her. It's not severe, not too intolerable. But you also have to have the right people to receive the punishments, and Bianca Belair is one of them. But let's move on to Seth Rollins and Austin Theory, because I really did believe that Seth Rollins, or that Cody Rhodes, there was a chance that Cody Rhodes could return. Now, let me put it this way: if Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins is set for WrestleMania, okay, as a fan, I would have been excited to see Cody Rhodes return last night to Raw. Okay, but under the condition that he is actually 100% clear to wrestle, okay, I want Cody Rhodes back as much as anyone else wants him back. I want him to start the feud as much as anyone else. I wanted him to actually cost Seth Rollins the title match last night and start that feud a little, even if if his music played, even if he showed up in the crowd or just came out on stage or even showed up on the Titantron. I really was looking for some sort of interference from Cody Rhodes, but that doesn't come from a babyface necessarily, right? So last night was important to focus on Seth Rollins and Austin Theory. We just talked yesterday how Seth Rollins was the workhorse of the year. He really, last night, he knew he was awarded that from Fox, and he just embraced all that last night. And you saw it in his face, you saw it in his the way he carried himself. And if you took anything away from last night, this was a guy who was being crowned, named workhorse of the year. He was just given the most stylish superstar of the year, as well as the match of the year with Cody Rhodes. He has something to brag about, and he wants to go after that United States title. Where on the other hand, Austin Theory is like, man, great, you had a great year last year, but I'm still champion. And for me, Austin Theory is still doing a remarkable job. I know a lot of people are not behind Austin Theory, but last year has been a roller coaster ride, and a lot of athletes who was brought up to the top, brought down, and then now is at a kind of level out place. He's still getting into his own. He's still learning the rhythm. He is still champion. He's still in the conversation. As a matter of fact, he's still in the main event. And if you really think about it, if a guy's not coming through, do you really think he's going to be put in the main event? He wasn't put in the main event so Seth Rollins could carry him. He didn't get put in the main event so Seth Rollins can defeat him, retain capture the United States Championship, and then that's it for Austin Theory. Austin Theory, at the end of the night, he's still champion. He's the one who walked out on top. So although Seth Rollins has had a year to remember, Austin Theory is at the same level as Seth Rollins. And last night, Austin Theory is just a little bit above. Now, you got to clear your mind from Seth Rollins being in the WWE for 10 years and Austin Theory just recently being in the WWE only 1 or 2 years, right? You got to clear your mind of that, because that's not going to work, because every single time you're going to put Seth Rollins on top, and I get that. But you got to clear your minds and put them on the same playing field. Last year, Seth Rollins helped Cody Rhodes, right? Cody Rhodes, WWE trusted Seth Rollins to compete with Cody Rhodes. Okay, and had that storyline until Cody Rhodes got injured and had to be put on the shelf. Seth Rollins last year, then afterwards, had a few, went with Riddle, and then is now working with Austin Theory. Austin Theory, on this hand, let's not forget what's going on with Austin Theory. He was given an opportunity by Vince McMahon, which I don't care who you are or what you've done for the company, but if WWE puts you in a position in something, interacting with Vince McMahon and interacting with Brock Lesnar and interacting with Pat McAfee, I understand Pat McAfee has competed before in the ring, but he's not an everyday athlete. So, he's not an everyday in-ring competitor, and listen, I love Pat McAfee. I love his show. And hey, hopefully I just saw an article this morning that he's supposed to be coming back to SmackDown here soon. So I'm excited. But Austin Theory, WWE trusted Austin Theory to work with I'm going to consider McAfee, no disrespect, but a non-active wrestler, right? He's not in the ring every day of the week. He's not competing, week in and week out. He is he isn't technically a non-wrestler. He's had a few matches, yeah, given him, but he's not proven himself. So, or not proven himself. He has not really he's not been there, done that for the substantial time. It's not his career. He hasn't made a living off of it. So for me, Austin Theory got the nod from Vince, from WWE, a lot of trust in him, just like there was a lot of trust in Seth Rollins taking on Cody Rhodes to face Pat McAfee. Austin Theory goes on and he ends up winning the Money in the Bank. Now, listen, I get it. He may not be that next big thing that could have, dethroned Roman Reigns, and I completely understand that. But he has still accomplished, that's still an accomplishment in his career. And let's not forget about that. Also, on another note, now these two at the end of the year are now facing each other heading into 2023. So the main focus last night was these two levels. And I listen, as much as I'm disappointed that we didn't see Cody Rhodes return last night, that there was rumors about happening, it's a great tease. But I rather see, and it makes you realize, hey, especially what happened with Damar Hamlin last night, I rather see Cody Rhodes 100%. And I rather have, you have now to April to really set this storyline apart. And especially if they're going to have another WrestleMania match, maybe wait until the Royal Rumble, have him return at the Rumble like they've been claiming and mentioning. And you know what? If he's going to return at the Rumble, I don't want to know about it. I don't want him coming out a week or two in advance and telling me, hey, I'm coming to the Royal Rumble. It's just not suiting for me. So Monday Night Raw last night, we're turning our focus to NXT. Who's being called up? I think we'll probably talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. I want to take a break and come back and give you ranked 76 to 100 in the PW Insider's top 100, available on pwinsider.com. For more, if you want to check out the entire 500 list. So we'll take a break, step away. We'll come on back and continue our program, taking you up until 8 o'clock here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty, 7:39 here on the throw-in. Thank you guys for tuning in to us. You guys are watching us live from YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, waking up early in the morning. Hey, tonight, check out NXT on the USA Network as we kick off the new year. It's been a fun weekend in the world of sports. A little setback last night, unfortunately. But it continues, WWE wrestling wise, it continues tonight. Braun Breaker, Wes Lee, and so many more in appearance. So check out NXT tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on USA Network. Alrighty, so talking about WWE storylines, news, and everything else. As the beginning of the year, and you got to have that conversation about who really just stood out in the top of 2021, or now 2022, and there's a lot of guys that we can say, hey, you deserve to be number 2, number 1, number 3. I remember last year's conversation. Roman Reigns was getting up there. Kenny Omega was number 1. Roman Reigns was number 2. And according to our definition and our opinions, they're pretty differently. But we're gonna come back, and so what I want to do is eventually give you guys who I think my top 25 could be, in my opinion. But it's always nice. I love when you do these type of things that you can go off of what the inner what for example, PW Insider, who's been a loyal source time and time again, who kind of has a trademark, and not a trademark, but a tendency of doing these things and providing these lists. So we can kind of compare them up. And over the next few weeks, we want to give out, do things like we did last year, like who was our breakout start of the year, rookie of the year, stuff like that. Well, PW Insider does their top 500 each and every year. They have it of all time. Now they have it, then they also have it as an individual year. So we're going to be taking a look over the next 4 days with PW Insider's top 100. If you want the rest of them, where you guys could head on over to pwinsider.com for more information on that behalf. Now, with that being said, all right, PW Insider, great source. I mean, I think it's a reliable source. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know down in the stores. But we're expecting in the top 100 Roman Reigns, John Moxley, Seth Rollins, and I don't know, Brian Danielson maybe, um, Solo Sikoa, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar, possibly. Logan Paul could even be on this list. I have no idea. Now you got to remember this is all going to probably be male wrestlers, so just keep that in mind and everything. So, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to read you this top from 76 to 100, and then I'm just gonna kind of give you my thoughts and think if anyone that is in this 25-man list right now that deserves to be there probably should be put down aside. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of you don't forget there's a lot of athletes that are coming through from Japan, and so I apologize ahead of time if I cannot pronunciate some of these names. I'm not intentionally doing so. I tried, try to rehearse it prior, but it only does so well for me. So I'm going to kick things off at coming in at 100 is Kyle O'Reilly. 99 is Ninja Mac. Sato Satoshi Kojima is at 98. 97 is Jordan Grace. 96 is Austin Theory. Effie is 95. Yuma Aoyagi is 94. Pentagon Jr. 93. Hiromu Takahashi is 92. 91 is Gunther. Jungle Boy is 90. 89 is Riddle. Okay, as in Matt Riddle. Titan is 88. 87 and Axel Tishker. 86 is Alex Kane. Kofi Kingston is 85. Sami Zayn is 84. 83 is Taji Ishimori. Swerve Strickland is 82. 81 is Christian Cage. Keith Lee is 80. 79 is Tatsuya Edno. 78 is Ultimo Guerrero. Carmelo Hayes is 77. And Tomohiro Ishii is number 76. So that is the first 25 that we have from 76 to 100. Tomorrow is going to be from 50 or 51 to 75. And then, so forth up until Friday. Now, running off of this list, okay, Carmelo Hayes seems reasonable. Now, I can only speak off the names that I am familiar with. So I apologize in advance. Is that if there's names that you guys know, and you guys, hey, I want to get your thoughts on this, and I don't know them because I don't watch a lot of New Japan Wrestling. Like I said, my access is probably going to be more familiar with everyone else's access to cable, USA Network, TBS, TNT, and then maybe AXS TV, for Impact Wrestling. But the first thing that comes out to my mind in this since in this list is Theory. And I'm going to be honest with you, Austin Theory, in my belief, should be higher than the top 100 list. You know, I don't know how this list is based off of, if this is strictly just in-ring performances, or if this has to do with the overall impact of how they, what they've done in 2022. But Austin Theory, I still believe should be given enough credit. Now, I know that the year didn't end the way, maybe the beginning of the year started, and maybe a matter of fact, they downgraded him throughout the year. But as for a kid as Austin Theory, who all you have to do is give him a chance. Someone in WWE, whether that's Vince McMahon alone or in the creative team, gave him a chance. They believed in Austin Theory. They believed in what he was capable of doing and what he had to offer to the table. And that's why Austin Theory is, why he had his moment with Brock Lesnar at the Elimination Chamber, why he also had a match with Pat McAfee, and he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. There is a reason behind it, not just because someone said we need to give a guy some sort of, give this guy some sort of storyline for 2022. Someone deep down believed in Austin Theory and what he was capable of doing. And I think in professional wrestling, especially when you get up at the level of WWE, AEW, TNA, so to speak, you have to be given, you have to take every opportunity that is given to you. Yeah, you're given matches to kind of excel and try to, but I think this is where wrestling is the most difficult. I apologize for being on the mic here. Difficult at, because you get matches in WWE. We talked about this last year. I want to bring this up again. In the WWE, or in professional wrestling alone, it takes an athlete about 3 to 4 months of constant television or action time in that ring to determine if the fans will or will not get behind you. Now, it does not matter if you are liked or if you're hated. But you need to be given at least a 12-week span for the fans to determine if they're going to like you or hate you. Now, if they're going to like you or hate you, that's fine. Look what happened to Wardlow. That was one of the problems with AEW, is that he wasn't giving enough television time. He would be up for 2 weeks, and then you wouldn't see him, or you see him in the sidelines for 3 months, until he was given a week-to-week opportunity, which didn't start until the end of 2021. And then it took him another 2 to 3 months to create himself. And then the fans got behind him. So Austin Theory had to take from the beginning of the new year up until WrestleMania to create himself. A lot of people decided, hey, we're not going to get behind him, or we're going to get behind him, but we don't like him. That's fine by me. But he deserves, in my opinion, to be higher up on this list. Jungle Boy. I also think Jungle Boy should be up higher on this list. I don't think too much higher on this list, probably still within this range of 76 to 100, but he's had to adjust from tag team action to singles action, which I think a lot of people, if you would have asked, didn't really, they believed in him, but I don't know how many people would have believed in him unless he went through what he went through with Luchasaurus as a tag team partner for the the time span that he was with Luchasaurus. Jungle Boy's held his own. I don't quite know how far he's going to go by himself, but he deserves to be up a little higher. I think he deserves to be up higher than Christian Cage. Christian Cage is a veteran athlete. I know he can still go. He can still carry people, and that's great. But that's his. That's kind of more of his role, his job. Gunther, I'm a little disappointed in Gunther. Now, I think that he just breaking the top 100 is great, but let's face it, Imperium hasn't done nothing significant, and that's because the bloodline's in place. If that's the case, you should have been moved over to Raw. I remember Imperium down in NXT for the longest period of time. They dominated. They were the most fierce fraction in NXT for the time period. They won all the gold. Um, you know, and when they come to the WWE, this is just a prime example of WWE shutting down potential talent. And I mean, I know for me, I feel like Gunther and Imperium are only limited to so much because of the characters that they have, but they should be a little bit better than where they're at. I feel the same spot where Riddle is at 89. I like that as well. Kofi Kingston, we don't see as much of him as him. The New Day has kind of stepped down, especially with Big E's injury. So he's kind of stepped into place. Um, like I said, I don't know how they determine this top 100, top 500 if it's solely strictly into WWE. I mean, into just wrestling inside the ring. Sami Zayn is another guy. When you look at Sami Zayn sitting at 84, then you look at guys like Swerve Strickland at 82, and then Christian Cage at at 81, and then Carmelo Hayes. Okay, maybe Carmelo Hayes. I don't know. Sami Zayn for me has reinvented himself with the bloodline, and he's kind of made himself relevant again. And that's something that not a lot of athletes are capable of doing. So when he's capable of doing that, I think that's perfect. I mean, what do you have bad to say about Sami Zayn? All right, he's a guy who's had to adjust to everything that was thrown at him. He's done it with open arms. He's done it with intensity. He's done it with willingness. I mean, he's your perfect nature being. He was, and he's fitting perfectly into the bloodline role. And for a guy who probably does not fit whatsoever, I mean, he still is kind of the odd man out. He always will be the odd man out. You feel kind of bad for him. You want him to succeed, to have some sort of success point. He's done his job. He's part of the bloodline that you cannot hate. I mean, you enjoy Solo Sikoa. I mean, okay, let me put it this way: you hated the bloodline up until Sami Zayn got involved, and then the comical act that Sami Zayn puts on week in and week out, the things that he's trying to do to prove his loyalty to Roman Reigns. I mean, it's he should be in the top 50 for me. Both Theory and Sami Zayn, in my opinion, should be in the top 50 because that's where they belong. So that is the top from 76 to 100. Like I said, we will come back on tomorrow, give you 50 to 75, 51 to 75, something like that, and then give you more as time progresses here in our wrestling world. It's been a difficult program. My microphone as we wrap up the end of our show this morning, and I hope wherever you guys are at, you guys are taking care of yourselves, well-being. Like I said, I was excited yesterday morning. I know the show was a little iffy, and we always try to come out here and put our best product on. I felt like today more motivation, but we had a lot of excitement going into last night with Monday Night Football, Monday Night Raw, and I think a lot of that came to a halt after figuring out and discovering that after witnessing, put it that way, best terms, Damar Hamlin, who is currently in critical conditions after suffering a cardiac arrest during last night's game. He tackled T. Higgins in the halfway through the first quarter after the Bengals were up 7-3, and then he got up and he collapsed. His mother was in the crowd, and he was brought down. They, from observation, they and from what we were being told by you know call broadcasters and um, other sources, that he was receiving CPR on the field. They brought him to the UC medical clinic where he's currently being taken care of and treating in current condition. So as you go through today, okay, we can see here and talk. There's a lot of sports going on today. I mean, the world doesn't end. We still continue. There's a lot of questions about what's going to happen when it comes down to the NFL. How, if this game, because this game is currently suspended, but it's going to depend on if this game is going to continue, if it's going to take place at a later date. Let the NFL decide that. Let the NFL decide how tomorrow is going to work, how today is going to work, how tomorrow is going to work, how this weekend is going to work as we head into week 18. And I want you just to take the moment, regardless of what sport you are best affiliated with or you best support, and just take some time to reflect and to appreciate the staff members and the players that come out here to entertain us. And if you get a chance to take some time, as we did this moment, and to send a prayer and to take some silence for to wish the best of luck for Damar Hamlin, excuse me, too early in the morning, and his friends, family, the Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, and everyone else involved. So at the end of this episode today, we would like to take a quick silence, come back and wrap it up. So join me for a few moments of silence out of respect for Damar Hamlin. Alrighty, Tuesday morning is in the book. We have come to another end of another episode. We will be back again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Don't head nowhere. I want to thank everyone who's tuned in on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Be sure to download us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and much more. Listen, let's try to have ourselves a good day. We'll come back tomorrow with some more updates. On behalf of everyone that make this possible, I want to give a thank you guys to everyone, and you guys all take care. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.